Welcome, everybody, to Rock and Recovery. I'm your host, Jay. And today I have a special guest, David. I want to say Ebel?
Ebel.
Ebel. Well, David's here to tell his story on what led him into addiction and recovered from addiction. So I'm just going to let him introduce himself and lead right into it.
Well, my name is David, and I am in recovery. But my story starts a lot earlier. My sister died of polio at age 4, right before the vaccine came out, and my mom lost it. I mean, we're not talking a little bit lost it. She couldn't even find the bag it came in. And I was the makeup baby, and I was dying at birth. And I was choking to death. And so she grabbed the doctor, says, if he dies, you die, fix it. He came back about half an hour later and said, look, we got an experiment. She said, look, is he going to die without it? Yeah, then do it, stupid. And so he did it. But 4 months later, it became illegal to do to humans because the side effects were so bad.
Wow.
There's birth defects, sterility, dwarfism, and dead by 20. So that kind of stacked the deck against me a little bit. And then at 6, I added rheumatoid arthritis, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. So I've been in chronic pain since then. So I was
that's a bunch of your life was stacked against you from the gate.
Yeah. Then add that I was the smallest kid in the school till 12th grade, which meant I was bullied more than anybody you can name. And, I read tons because I couldn't do sports, which meant I had the biggest vocabulary, which increased the bullying. And so between the feeling of not belonging and the extreme pain that was getting worse every year, I went to college on a handicapped scholarship at 16. And by a year and a half in, I had to work a job to be able to eat and pay for gas. My dad gave me a car, but I had to work to do it. So I was working full time, going to college 21 credits, 110 lab hours, and commuting 25 miles each way. And about a year and a half in, I had a nervous breakdown. I just melted down in the student union and became a blubbering idiot. Just done. There was nothing left. I couldn't push another inch. I couldn't, whatever it took, I didn't have it to give. And so the college pulled me aside and said, look, we get it. This isn't you. This is just a problem. So what we want you to do is we want you to take a year off. We'll freeze your scholarship. You went on handicap scholarship. The state will hold it. You just go get well and come back. Well, what I heard in my bent around state in my head was, you're a loser. You're a failure. Even the college doesn't want you. You're good for nothing. No one likes you. No one cares for you. You might as well give up and die. That's what I heard. Now, obviously, they didn't say that, but once things cracked in my head, depression just owned me. And over a period of time, it just went downhill. And I went to work at a clothing store, and the guys said, you need to cool, you need to chill, you need to be easy. I said, well, what does that mean? Well, let's go dancing tonight. So they took me to a bar, and I had my first drink of alcohol. My mom was an alcoholic, so I wasn't really excited about it. And I kind of promised myself we'd never drink, but I was willing to compromise in my shape. So when I compromised and I drank, and about 4 months later, I was drinking everybody under the table. My body just craved it. I dreamed about it. It wasn't 6 months in, I was sleeping in my parents' basement in a makeshift bedroom, and I had alcohol stashed in the rafters of the basement. I worked 3 jobs so that when I would come in under the influence and get fired, I still have enough liquor to be able to keep my alcohol going.
Wow.
I was drinking an average of a pint of scotch a day, and weekends more. And I was doing it more for pain relief than that was my mental picture, is I'm doing this to help me with my pain. Didn't realize that I had head pain, psycho pain, as well as physical pain going on. I didn't realize how goofed up I was. I just didn't get it. I was so trapped in my head I didn't know. And being the middle child of an alcoholic who was bipolar, I spent my time trying to take care of everybody else and never dealing with me. And then it got worse, and I started really, really getting bad. The pain was worse. And I began to think, this world isn't worth it. I might as well give up and die. So I attempted suicide 4 times by overdose. The third time I drove around drunk, hoping to get in an accident and die, and people just got out of my way. Nobody even let me kill myself. So the fourth time, I was the day before Christmas, and I got on a bridge. I went into the country, found a bridge, and drove off the bridge at 100 miles an hour. But it was winter, so everything was frozen. So I hit mud. I didn't hit water. I didn't get drowned. I hit mud, ripped a huge tree out by the roots. They towed my car out, and I drove it home. And the whole thing I heard is stupid, 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 stupid. You can't even kill yourself. You're stupid. So I made the plan to buy a rifle, and I was paying payments on it. And I told the people at the store where I used to work, I'm getting it from my dad for his birthday, so I need to have it by a certain day. Well, that was the date I already had my suicide note written. I was a bit of an artist, so I was drawing in my weirded out state. I was drawing graveyards with trees holding skulls, dripping blood, morbid stuff, and my name was on every gravestone. And this girl came into one of the jobs I was working at, where I was in a hippie commune kind of store, where I was carving candles. And I don't mean carving just regular candles. I was carving skulls dripping blood and brains oozing blood. And I mean, really, really demonic stuff. And people they were standing in line to buy it. I couldn't make it fast enough. And this girl came in to tell me about Jesus, and I did everything to fight her and resist from her and to tell her just to go away. I didn't need any. And she wouldn't listen. So I finally said, what do I got to do to get rid of you? She said, come to church with me. And I went, well, you're pretty. Okay. I'll go get you cute. Well, I went home and told my mom, who grew up in the South, and she was anti-church times 10. I said, I'm going to church with this girl. What kind of church? I don't know. She said, well, let me tell you what church is like. People roll on the floor. They swing from the chandeliers. They're crazy. And I went, oh, good. Just what I need. So I got drunk and high. I had added drugs to deal with the guilt from the alcohol because I didn't want to be like my mom, and now I was. So the drugs were my numbing agent to deal with the other head thing going on in my head. And so I went there, and I was drunk enough that I was driving an old Mustang with a slider gear shift, and I couldn't shift the gears to park. I was too loaded. So she had to take this, put gear shifting into park, take the keys from me, scoop me up, and she walked me into church. And the first thing I heard is, oh my God, look at that 18-inch hair. Look at those clothes. He don't belong here. We have a coffee house and a ministry on the streets for people like him. He probably hasn't showered in a month. Oh my God, keep him away from my children. I turned to her and said, look, I don't belong here. She said, yes, you do. They don't. This is a place of hope. And obviously they're beyond hope. So I was too drunk to argue. So she sat me down in a pew, and there I sat. The songs came up, and I liked to sing, so I read out of the songbook while I'm singing along with them. I had no idea what I was singing, but I liked to sing. Then there was the preaching, and there was a young guy about my age. He'd been their youth pastor, and this was his final sermon before he went elsewhere. And I don't know what he said. I honestly don't. I was so whacked out. All I could do is my body was beginning to shake. Not a little bit. I mean, we're talking shake. It was shaking enough that this old church used to be a one-room schoolhouse, so it had hardwood floors, and it had hardwood pews on top of them. So I'm shaking so much it's going bop, 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 and I'm getting shh at the back of the room. Like I can control that. But that's how it was. So we ended up with at the end, he says, if you need Jesus, raise your hand. And I heard her, she later told me, she said, I heard him say, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. But my hand went up. And when it went up, it freaked me out so bad. I tried to pull it down and it wouldn't go down. It wouldn't go down at all. And he said, thank you, brother. I see that hand. It went down and I sat on it like I was going to hatch it, man. I was just terrified. I was terrified the people in the back of the room who'd been so mean to me were going to jump me. And being little, I got jumped a lot. So first thing that went through my mind is, here it comes again. So finally I looked up and realized that if I went to the front where he was and turned an immediate right, there was the emergency exit. So he said, when you want Jesus, come forward. I went forward heading for the emergency exit. He jumped over the pulpit. He was 6'8", 280. I was 5'4" and 187 pounds. So he said, can I show you something? I said, sure, just don't hit me. And he opened up his Bible and showed me where it said, for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And I said, what is that to me? He looks at me and says, God knows about your birth defects. He knows about your arthritis. He knows about your hemorrhaging ulcer that's bleeding out of both ends. He knows how you're trying to kill yourself desperately and can't succeed. Now he's got my attention. And suddenly my mind is clearing so I can understand him. And I says, so what do I do with that? He says, just kneel on this altar over here on the pulpit, right next to the pulpit, and cry out to the Lord. And the two other people at the altar were converted hippies with long hair and big beards, and one of them had a bib overall with a rooster embroidered on the front of it. They would have fit really great in Haight-Ashbury or some other doper home. And so they were going, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. And so I did the same. But I didn't, instead of thank you, Jesus, I screamed, Jesus, if you're real, I give you 6 months to prove yourself. If you are, I'll serve you with the rest of my life. And if not, I know where the gun is. Suddenly I was sober. That fast, I was sober.
Wow.
For the first time in 3 years, I was crystal clear sober. It scared me. I wasn't prepared for sober. I was so overwhelmed, I started crying. And then the next thing I felt like I needed to say, I'm sorry. And I started to say, I'm sorry. And all of a sudden, not time, states, and places, I admitted to all the things I'd done wrong. It was powerful enough and ugly that the entire chapel cleared out. They didn't want their kids to hear it. And so when I was finally done, I felt like this big balloon and went flat. I had no energy. I had nothing left. I felt clean. I felt refreshed. I felt loved. I felt like I belonged, but I felt empty, like I needed something. And so I started just saying, God, I love you. I love you. I love you. And all of a sudden I heard, and I looked around and I was the only one near me. The voice said, my son, David, I've called you with an everlasting love. And I've called you to preach my word. I called you with an everlasting love, and I've called you to preach my word. And if you'll love my people and preach my word, I will change lives. If you'll love first and preach my word, I will change hundreds of thousands of lives. Will you love? Yes. Will you preach? You show me how. I'll do it. That was all I heard. But when I got back up, tried to get up, the two hippie guys had to scoop me up because now I was sober, but I was empty. I was shaking like a leaf because something traumatic had happened. Positive traumatic, but traumatic nonetheless. So I ended up going, now what? The girl disappeared too. She wasn't even in the room. And the guy said, come on, they're having a farewell for the guy who was the preacher in the back. So let's go back there and have cake. So I walked into the back and there's about 40 people. And about 20 of them congratulated me and told me it was a great thing. The other 20 looked at me like I was contaminated and wouldn't even get near me. And I went, okay. And I heard this little voice saying, don't worry about them. I'm concerned about you. That's all I heard. So I just tuned them out and began to make new friends, which I desperately needed because my old friends were sucking me down the drain over and over and over and over again. They weren't helping nothing. So that was the beginning of a whole new thing. And those two guys became kind of like my private AA, because I didn't even know there was an AA or any other numbers of the letters of the alphabet tied to recovery, because I didn't even know what recovery was. All I know is all of a sudden I was sober and I loved God, and I wanted to stay sober and love God. And, I mean, it's not going to be identical for everybody, but it's exactly what happened to me. And when it happened to me, it was so profound that within 3 months I was preaching. It was terrible. If I had a recording of the tape, I'd smash it. I wouldn't even let people listen to it. It was that bad. But I wasn't ashamed. They asked me to do it, and I did it. And I had 3 people at the end come up and say, "Believe it or not, you moved me." And I said, how's that? Because you didn't chicken out, you didn't fail, you gave it your best. And that moved my heart. That was the encouragement I needed. And I studied and I prepared, and I had my pastor mentored me, and then I got involved with some other church groups that mentored people going into ministry. And eventually I ended up in ministry, doing children's work at the first. But when I started doing the kids' work, I realized that what people saw in churches on Sunday was these. You go to a movie and it's classy. You go to a circus, it's classy. You go to a TV show, it's classy, and you go to Sunday school and it looks like something from. Well, the church has got recycled furniture in it, and the everything's like third class. It's stuff other church people threw away, and that's what they're trying to tell kids about Jesus with. And my background had been in high school and college was theater. So I knew that you could do better. So I dressed as a clown and began reaching kids.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a good looking clown. I was pretty icky, but the kids loved me. So that motivated me, and I found a magician to teach me magic and a storyteller to teach me storytelling, and all the different pieces necessary, and eventually found a clown who was Ringling quality, who mentored me. And that grew enough that I ended up going to a convention and found out from 2 Ringling clowns that I was Ringling Master Clown certified, which meant that only they can certify you. You don't apply. They come up to you and say, you've reached this limit. You are now a master clown. I didn't see it coming. But I had been using that to reach kids and parents, whole families, to find out who God was, to find out what love is. Not join a church, not kneel, not give money, not show up to this building only. Just, this is Jesus. He died for you. He loves you. Won't you love him back? That was my entire message.
That is his entire message.
Yeah. So we created the Kids Celebration Circus, and I took it on the road for 12 years. 49 years of churches, and I hit 40, in the 12 years, I hit 49 states and 20 countries.
Wow.
Pardon I'm excited, so I'm stammering here. But, this is the guy who never was supposed to live past 20. Experiment said dwarfism, sterility, 100% mortality by 20. I met Jesus at 20, and here I am. I'm 74 right now.
Damn.
And
I wouldn't have been able to guess that. You definitely don't look 74.
That's all the love of God. So we did 50 years full time. The second half of our life, when my body got too sick to be on the road, is they sent me to a little town called Turlock, California. And I'm an ordained minister in the Salvation Army. They sent me to start a brand new Salvation Army there. Well, I had helped start churches before, helping out. So I knew what to do. So I went in and did it. And in 6 years, we went from no address with no people to 28,000 square feet debt-free, including an Olympic-sized gym with an Olympic padded floor.
Wow.
We had a chapel we were running 85 on Sundays. And this is a guy who still doesn't know what he's doing. He's just showing up and trying. I never claimed to be smart. I just claimed to be willing. If God had opened the door, I run through it and let him help me figure it out.
So what was your actual turning point when you decided to give your life to Christ?
The moment that I realized he was real. The only Jesus I knew was this turquoise cross on my sister's bedroom wall with this gold guy nailed to it. I honestly didn't know God's last name wasn't Dan.
Makes sense. I understand that.
Yeah. So I am still doing ventriloquism.
So early on in your recovery, how did you stay of the sober mindset? How did you, with all the triggers, everything else going on in your life, how did you stay early on in recovery with the triggers and everything else? What kept you going forward instead of stalling or going backwards?
I surrounded myself with people who were 3 notches up above me. I was accountable to them and made sure that I didn't have loopholes to slip off. I desperately didn't want to be what I was. And people say, well, I could slip back. Well, I may as well use a gun. The only slipping back for me was dead. So if I was going to be alive, the only life I was living is this new one. And the only way to do it is for me to, how when kids are little, they put guardrails on the bowling?
Mm-hmm.
I needed guardrails in my life. And those were people who loved me enough to hold me accountable, tell me when I'm doing stupid, prevent me from, giving me alternatives from falling off the edge, being buried in doing good.
Early on in life, being told all these things that you can't do, what made you do it? What made you fight for what you can't do?
I got tired of being told what I couldn't do. So I would just start doing little things. But when I was desperate to be belonging, I wanted to be like everybody else. So growing up, I hid all my pain, and I jump off the swings. When other kids jump off the swings, nothing. When I jump off the swings, it was electricity shooting through my legs all the way into my head. It's like fire just racing through me. And I get up and do it again. My friends never knew. But then when I go home, I'd be in bed crying like a baby because I sucked it in. I had to let it out at some point.
Right.
But that overcompensation, that drive to belong, made me an overachiever. And with that in mind, I was willing to even face rejection to be able to belong.
Wow. It sounds like you're pretty resilient there. How'd you get that resiliency and where did it come from? Was it self-taught? How?
It's part of once I found Jesus, that's when life began. But I had all these tools over here I'd learned before. I just didn't know how to use them.
Okay.
But once I realized what it was, I took all that drive and I made up my mind that no one or nothing's going to separate me from what I'm doing now. To be resilient, you have to choose. And I don't mean once, I mean choose. You get up in the morning, you choose. You get to lunch, you choose. You hang around your friends, you choose. Driving down the road alone and you see places you shouldn't go, you choose. So I probably make 30 choices a day. Then and now, I still make those choices because at my age, the internet is real. Porn is out there. There's stuff I can fall off and be addicted to something else real easy. Alcohol is an addiction, but it doesn't mean when you stop it, you don't have an addictive personality.
How'd you manage those cravings?
Yeah. Well, thanks to my mom's family of 7 generations of alcoholism before me, once I realized I was one, I read on it, I learned on it, and I did everything I could to figure out what it was and what the heck it was and what I was never going to do again if I could help it. But that didn't mean, it was easy. When I learned about recovery programs, I honestly initially was jealous because of all that support and all that acceptance that I didn't get initially. I had friends in the church and they were great, and I'm not diminishing them. But when I walked into a meeting and there were 70 people sitting there and nobody was picking on anybody and everybody was listening. And then afterward, people were walking up and encouraging each other. I went, I wish I'd have had that 20 years ago.
Right. That
But
community.
so, when people, the Salvation Army has one of the most successful rehabilitation programs in America, and it's free because people
Wow.
donate furniture and stuff. It's free to the guy who finally hits bottom and is serious.
I did not know
So,
that.
yeah, well, so that's when you give your furniture and all that stuff to the Army. When they sell that, that funds rehab. Because by the time the guys come to us, they've been through 3 rehabs and bankrupted everybody in their family. And now they want to be serious, and their family saying, you're on your own. We're done. That's the 80% of the people who walk through their doors is we're done's. But yet their success rate for non-recidivism is very high.
Oh, wow.
So when I found out about that and I realized it was a little late for me, I started teaching there and investing there and spending time there. Even when I retired, we would drive to the nearest rehab. We call them ARCs, Adult Rehabilitation Centers. I drove to the nearest ARC and I would give them my time. Just listen, teach a little bit, listen a lot.
What's some of the biggest things you can tell a recovering addict or maybe even a sober curious person that's just thinking about it? What's one of the best piece of advice you can give?
I think one of them is, and this is from my point of view, is find out who Jesus is. I don't mean a building. I have Jewish friends who found Jesus. It's not the label, it's the personage. It's faith. Just applying faith in someone bigger than you who's already promised to love you. And he says he'll never leave you or forsake you. He'll be with you always. That would be my first piece. That's not diminishing any of the other pieces. But that was the thing that was so profound for me. And it has been profound for literally over thousands of people since I've been sharing it. I've shared it on television, on radio, on podcasts before. I've shared, all over the place. You open a door, I'll do it because I want people to know about the love of God. It doesn't matter to me if they don't go to church or they do go to church, or as long as if they go to church, they go to a Bible believing church. That's all I've done my part. But for those that aren't ready for church, I understand. But it doesn't do any harm to pick up a Bible and look at the book of John. It's in the New Testament. The first 4 books are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The book of John is called the book of love. I tell people, read the book of John, and then go back to Matthew and read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John again as a story, as God's love letter to mankind. Who he is, how it works, and what he wants to do in our lives. No buildings, none of the other pieces, just the real God thing. And anybody can do that, and it's not judgmental, and it's not anti this or the church doesn't like this or doesn't believe in that. That's not involved. What's involved is here, right there in your heart. Are you tired of what you got? Do you want something that would actually help heal it and help you move forward? That's what God did for me. That's what God can do for others. And I've seen it happen to people who hated church, absolutely hated church, got burned in a church, treated badly in a church, all those kind of things. But I'm not talking about church. I'm talking about a heart cry to the one who made you to love, and he loves you, and he'll never stop loving you. And you can't do enough wrong that he won't love you. You can't anti
That's true.
yourself out. Stupid doesn't count. The minute you truly are, that was if stupid counted, I'd be done.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be 500 strikes in the hole. I guarantee
Yeah,
it.
me too. Probably more or so, probably equal.
But and it doesn't. Stupid is mankind. You know, some are just smarter about hiding it
That
than
free
others.
will.
That's all. But those that say, "Okay, God loves me anyhow," begin to find out what God wanted to do with that love. Then they can choose whether they want that love or not. But till they know what it really is, they can't. It's not their fault. It's just where they're at in their lives right now. But see, I've had people say, "Oh, that's that preacher God," and 6 months later call me. I'm crashing and burning here. I'm going to lose my wife. I'm going to lose my kids. I'm about to lose everything. My job has given me my final warning. Is there something I can do? Well, you turned me down before, but I'll be glad to share it again. Well, this time I'm listening. What is it? And we've been able
Yeah.
to help keep families together. We've been able to keep you back work. A couple of guys that got out of recovery, we went to their jobs where they used to go and testified to the boss. Look, he's not who he was. He's sober. He's trustworthy. And they took him back and gave him back his old position. They didn't even demote him. They kept him where he used to be. They paid him the same. So I
What's
know it
one of the
works.
biggest misconceptions about addicts that you found or recovering addicts that you found?
I couldn't hear that part. Can you say it louder, please?
What are some of the biggest misconceptions about recovering addicts or addicts in general that you have found in working with Salvation Army and doing what you do?
Well, I think the Army is good. The Salvation Army is the most open-armed church in the world. They take people as they are. Our founder, William Booth, in London, in the times when things were really bad, not like here, he realized people living under the bridges were inches from dead. And he turned to his son and said, "Why aren't we reaching these people?" And his son said, "Because no one will." And he says, "Then we will." And they took an old place on the dock and had the few people he had find scrap wood, and they built their first little chapel out of literally recycled wood, really crummy recycled wood. I mean, before church, they'd have to make sure that floors were nailed together still before they came in. And they started the Salvation Army. And it's, an army of God through salvation. So we don't look down on addicts. As a matter of fact, when I go to church on Sunday, we have 3 addicts. Right now they're not active, but they're addicts that are in our congregation. Nobody knows they're addicts unless they tell it. They don't announce it. No one in the congregation will ever know.
How big of a
Because they're
part did Jesus play in your recovery, and not only that,
profound.
in your everyday decisions in life right now?
Well, he is the center of my purpose. And I married a girl who had the same mission, the same purpose, the same drive, the same passion. And that's a big deal. You got somebody who's here and somebody who's here, you're going to do this. And if you married badly and you had a bad time, that doesn't mean you couldn't marry again, but you need to make sure you're prepared to be the good person that you would want a girl to rise to. You want to find somebody here, not where you used to be.
On the
You want to
same level?
rise up, get
Yeah.
yourself prepared, and then marry somebody who would hold you accountable, who would encourage you, who would go to church with you, who would believe with you, who would pray with you. That's the kind of, I believe, this is my opinion, but I believe if you look at a triangle, You've got him, you've got her, and you need God. He's what keeps them together. I've been married 51 years
Damn.
to the same woman.
Damn.
Now I don't. I have no doubt. There's a couple times she might have wanted to kill me in my sleep because I'm still driven.
Right.
So it doesn't mean she doesn't have David moments. But then
Right.
she stops and smiles and says, "Can we fix it?" Yep, let's fix it. So, but if we didn't pray together, if we didn't go to church together, if we didn't share passion, mission, and vision together, we do lots of pre and post marriage counseling, and I won't do a marriage still if I don't do premarital counseling. I'm not touching it because I'm not going to put my name on a shipwreck. If I can't prepare them so they're ready to live together, not just have sex, live together, I won't do it because it's not fair to them. It's doubly so with recovering populations because we all come in wounded. And if we don't face our wounds, deal with our wounds, and rise above them to the point where we're a healthy being, how can we expect a healthy being to want to be with us?
Yeah. Very true. Not only that, you tend to bleed on the other person, so to speak.
And that's why they need to be resilient so you don't barf on them. Or if you do barf on them, they take a shower and keep going.
Absolutely. And that just goes time and what you put into your recovery and what you're getting back out of it. Because
Absolutely.
recovery is 100% what you put into it.
Totally. I agree with you 1,000%. I couldn't agree more. But my driven personality, once I gave my heart to Jesus, drove me to him. And I can't do half of anything. If you know me at all, I'm doing clowns to help do kids. I end up as a master clown. I'm doing a little bit of puppets. Now I've been a ventriloquist and performed in Vegas.
Wow.
Did I think I was going to do that? No, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to end up doing it to this level.
The best you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, my favorite slogan, when I wrote my book, I put it in the book. God didn't send his second cousin Louis to the cross. He sent his best. How dare we offer less?
And what book did you write?
The name of the book is When the Doctors Say No, God Says Yes.
When the doctors say no, God says yes.
Yeah.
And where can somebody find that?
Amazon. You can see I can't put it there. It is.
Okay.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble. When God says no, the doctors say no, God says yes.
Exactly. And with my background, where the doctor said nope, 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 and you're going to die, God said yes, 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 and you're still alive.
You're living proof that God does have plans. That's for sure.
And one of the amazing things to me was the publisher of the book was the farthest thing from a church-going guy. I mean, he dealt with me skeptically from day one. But after he read the manuscript, he insisted that I put a list in the back of the book of all the accomplishments that have happened in my sober self. So the last 2 pages of the book, almost 3 pages, are the things I've done that nobody said I could do. He wanted them there so people who didn't breeze past them when they're reading, that when they stopped, he was there for them as a reminder that anything's possible. We just have to get past our pain, our problems, and our purposes in the wrong direction. My mission has become helping people renew and restore, rebuild and re-inspire. So wherever I deal with people, in my head, I'm going, I want to help you with renewal. I want to help you restore your life beyond where you were. I want to rebuild your life with you so you're rebuilding it and I'm your cheerleader. And then I want to re-inspire you so you'll trust God.
One of the last questions I'll ask you. one of the last questions I'll ask you is if there's anybody listening out there that is struggling just in life in general, whether it be trying to get clean, whether it be trying to get sober, just struggling, what would you tell that person? What would you want them to be taken away from this conversation?
Don't surrender. Whatever you do, don't surrender. Make up your mind that today is a new day. Today is not that old day. You don't live in that old day. Today is a new chapter. And seek the help you need so that you can have a good tomorrow. Don't beat yourself up for yesterday because you have no control over it. Don't beat yourself up so much that today is miserable because of yesterday. Focus on what I want my life to be and make baby steps until you can make bigger steps, but keep moving forward. Seek help. If you're not in recovery, find a way to get in recovery. If you need it, go to the Salvation Army. They don't charge. If you're ready and you're serious, they'll take you in. But go somewhere. Find a place where you can be secure enough to face the junk that's happened in your life and deal with it so you can move forward beyond it. Yeah, you're going to bring some of the garbage with you, a little bit in your head, because that's human. But it doesn't have to own you. That's why I love the God piece, because God owns me, so he handles all the battles I can't fight. He takes all the pressure off of me. He takes all the weight off of me. When depression tries to come back, I last about 5 minutes and go, nope, been there, done that, played that song, don't want no more. And I get up and I take a mental shower right then. I clean my mind of all that crud and go do something really super positive, just despite it. And you can too.
And where can everybody find your book and your website and just read more about you?
Sure. My website is davidwebel.com. It's my name. Just put the W for my middle initial in there. We had to put my middle initial in because David Ebel, without it, is a judge who puts people in prison and sends them into the chair. So he contacted me and said, if you're going to do public things, you should put your middle initial in there so people don't try to kill you too. So it's davidwebel.com. And the book is on Amazon. The book is on Barnes & Noble. And it's when the doctors say no, God says yes.
How is it? Go ahead. Nope, you first.
I would be honored to have you read the book. And there is an email address in the book. And if you read it and it means something to you and you have questions, you can write me directly out of that email address. And I will gladly deal with you personally.
That's awesome. Everybody go check out his book, check out his website, davidwebel.com. And when the doctors say no, God says yes, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. How has it been reviewed and received?
So far, the reviews have been fantastic. When we're done, I can send you a couple of the reviews. We had a guy who's got multiple PhDs who read the book and said that it was one of the most inspiring things he's seen in a long time. He couldn't put it down until he finished it.
Wow. That's saying something right there. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know, I think everybody has a purpose, and if we can all turn our pain to a purpose, the world would be a lot better place.
I live in pain. I've never stopped having chronic pain. I stand up, it hurts. When I sit down, it hurts. When I'm talking to you, it hurts. I just have to make up my mind to be busy enough that I'm not paying attention to the pain. So I'm enjoying this with you and not thinking of the pain, because this is not pain. This is joy.
That's right. And it is all a mindset. It really is a mindset.
Lots of choices.
Lots of choices. It's a choice every day, and many, many of them. And sometimes they get the better of us. Sometimes we just choose not to let them. And that's all that matters.
And you forgive yourself when you make the mistake. And God forgives you when you ask him to. And if he forgives you, it's gone, so you can't beat yourself up for it.
David, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I don't know what part of the country you're on, but if you're out on the East Coast or West Coast, well, you still got a lot of daylight left. If you're on the East Coast, you don't, because that's where I'm at. And I'm staring out the window and it's getting dusky. But I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and sharing a little bit of hope and positivity.
Well, I'm honored to be here, and I really hope that I can be what I've said would be an encouragement to somebody.
Oh, it's going to hit the right person somewhere. Someone's going to listen to it and said, "That's what I needed," and that's all that matters.
And I do hope I get a couple of emails out of the back of the book. That would be awesome.
I'm sure you will. Again, thank you for your time.
Friend.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your story.
Absolutely.